Hello, everyone. Happy World Visual Effects Day. I'm very excited to be here with you all and share our love for the industry. My name is Anton. I'm a Production Visual Effects Supervisor in Los Angeles, and I've been approached to talk a little bit about what are the steps and the skills that you need to learn in order to become a supervisor production side. And so within the 25 minutes that I have, I'll share with you five main points, five main things that I would have told myself years ago that would have helped me get to this position. The first one is to what I call step up, step out, which basically means if you're a compositor or a CG artist, lighter, or a PM or a coordinator, and you are in a place where whenever you get your shot, for example, your brain automatically does the work. You already are, without even thinking, doing the job and getting the shot finalized. Or if you're a PM and you start a new show and you automatically know how everything is set up and you don't feel like there's much of a challenge to it, that's definitely your sign to step out and start learning other things. And what I mean by that is to look at any other skill set that you can learn that will make you a much more versatile artist or manager. If you're a compositor, you can look into Maya, Blender, Unreal, or even look into bidding templates and bidding. What does bidding do? How is an episode broken down in terms of the cost of it, And if you're a PM, just look into compositors, look into Nuke. Like, okay, they're sitting all day on the computer next to it, but what do they really do? What is it that they need to learn, and what are the skill sets that they need to develop? All of those things will be extremely useful because in-house, unlike a vendor where you likely have like a whole production team of coordinators and production managers to help out, or a whole team of senior artists or compositing supervisors, or a whole team of IT, that you can submit tickets to. In-house doesn't really have all those resources. It is a team of 3-4 artists, 2 coordinators, a PM, a visual effects editor, a producer, and a supervisor. And there's not really a lot more to that core group, although every show changes depending on the scope and whatnot, but that's the base. So people have to wear many hats, You need to help each other out. So the more things that you can learn about what others do and things that could be useful, it'll come a long way. In my sense, I was a compositor, and so I got interested in the IT sector of things and looked into how do you build a server? How do you build a pipeline? What are the different formats that there are to things, or color spaces, or I/O, or security, And so eventually got to a point where on my own, I could build an in-house facility, not just find the equipment that's needed, but actually like put it all together and get the computers and the software and everything that everybody needs in each show to get to work. And that is extremely useful for a producer. That sounds amazing. If you have a supervisor that can help put together an office, and whenever there is an IT challenge, they'll be there to help out. That is extremely useful, So in that sense, find your own skill sets. Find that thing that you can add to your skills that's going to help out. What I would say is go through a process of first discovery. Spend a little bit of time learning about the different roles that there are and the different things that you can do. Before you jump into anything specific, find out what a little bit the roles of a VFX editor, of a producer, and of an artist, and of a PM, and look into it and go for whatever you're most interested in. There's not really a path or a specific route that you have to take, in order to become a supervisor. Everybody has their own skill sets. There are some supervisors that come strictly from being a coordinator, So find out what is interesting to you and what you're good at, and it'll automatically make it a lot easier for you to learn those things. And definitely go one thing at a time. Don't try to make a mistake like me and try to jump into learning everything about shot grid, about Excel, about IT, about Blender and everything at the same time. Just pick one and just learn and get to that point where you're comfortable with it. And once you're there, jump on the next thing, on the next thing, and on the next thing, and on the next thing, and so on and so forth, you know? And so eventually you'll get up to a point where you are like comfortable with your skill set and you have a wide range of talents that you can provide to your team. So that is the moment, or even beforehand, the moment where you can go to point number 2, which is open your own doors. You know, the main or most important point about this whole talk, in my opinion, is this one, which is no one is looking for you. No one is out there trying to Google your name, trying to find you and trying to search for whatever, you know, you are and offer you a job, you know. Unfortunately, even if you are the best compositor in the world, the best lighter, the best coordinator, the best PM, it doesn't matter. Like you need to get yourself out there and you need to introduce yourself to the world in order for it to receive your talents and everything that you can provide, you know. I understand that especially as artists, we have to just stay in our little computer, in our little bubble in a cave and just put our headphones on and focus on our shots. But the role of a production supervisor is nothing like that. You know, you need to have your headphones off and you need to be talking to people all the time and you need to network and know everybody. So the sooner than you can get to it, the better. Okay. And so how do you do it? How do you, okay, sure, we need to network, but how do we really do it? I think a good point to start is to learn the industry, you know, just how we know how the main, most famous actors are and what the main directors are for these things. You also need to learn who are the production supervisors making these shows nowadays. Who are the visual effects producers? Who are the executives in the studios? Who are all of these people? Like, what does the industry look like? You know, you need to learn about it because it will make you have a more professional look towards everybody that you speak to. But not only that, you will also learn about their careers. How did they get to that point? You know, how did they get to be the executive at any studio? Some of them might surprise you, you know. You might be somebody that comes from photography and think that you can never be an executive in production for a studio, but then you'll find somebody that had just the exact same career path. You know, I will give you some reassurance that you can actually do it and it's possible, because it really is possible. You can get to wherever you want as long as you put in the work. So get yourself out there and just go to networking events. There's tons of networking events. There's people that you can reach out in LinkedIn and just try to have a conversation and learn about what they do. And eventually you'll find, somebody who is looking for someone with your specific skill set for a little show that needs a production supervisor. And the skill set that you have or the things that you share with them are the exact things that they need. And that's how you'll find your job, you know. You're the one that will find your own job. Your skill set will be the thing that will keep you at that job and it will keep you going. So you have the skill set covered. You just need to get your foot up on the door, your first step, and have people meet you and know you, because you're talented. You worked for it. You've done the hard work. So you just have to share with the rest of the world, you know. Once you get that job, you would go into the next step, which is connecting the dots. And what I mean by that is one thing that it's not as obvious, but it will be very visible once you start supervising, is visual effects is not the only department when it comes to making a movie or a show. There are tons of other departments and tons of other specialties that you need to know about. A lot of the problems or challenges that you will have during your show will require from you to know who is the person or the department that is going to help out, or that I need to reach out to solve this problem. And you need to know who those people are and what they do. And so in that sense, you have two methods. One of them is just to start from the beginning and start learning about development and writing, and then go from there to the pre-production crew, and then the production, and then VFX and post and localization. Or you can start from visual effects, since you're more familiar with, and work your way to the beginning and then to the end. What I mean by that is, have you ever wondered as an artist, where do EXRs come from? Have you thought, okay, the EXRs come from the coordinator, right? Okay, where does the coordinator get them from? The coordinator gets them from the visual effects editor. Okay, then where does these things come from, the VFX editor? Well, they requested from the DI facility, the DI Digital Intermediate facility. Okay, where does DI get the EXRs from? They actually transform those EXRs from a QuickTime they get from set, and so on and so forth. You will just step by step walk your way through understanding how this whole train works, and as a supervisor, you need to 100% learn what all of these roles are. You don't need to, by all means, be an expert on it. You just need to know what they do, what they can provide, and how can you help. Because at the end of the day, fix it in post, you're going to be saving a lot of people on set, and helping them out. And you need to understand who you can help out and how they can help you out, especially the props department, the director of photography, the production designer. Those people will be incredible. They will lend you a hand, and you will reciprocate and help out in a way too. But you first need to learn what they do, what their roles are. So one last thing about that aspect is, besides knowing about these roles, I would tell you to focus a little bit on the technical aspect of it. What I mean by that is, especially in the post-production section of it all, try to learn about what are the different EXR. Okay, that is one type of file, but what other files do we do? Do we use QuickTimes? What kind of QuickTimes are there? ProRes? What is H.264? What is spec sheet? What is in I/O? What kind of programs do you use to download and upload the files? Those things that you need to learn, because in your team, like I said, it's a small team, and the technical aspect is one that typically gets sort of put behind sometimes a little bit, and if you are the person that's leading it, if you have your first call with the post supervisor and post producer and the post team, and start talking about those things, and you're getting familiar, or being the one that's familiar with them, you're automatically going to win the respect of the post team. They're going to see that how things work, how to get things done and what's needed. And that will come in extremely handy, because you will no longer have to sort of prove yourself in a way to the post team. They'll already know that your stuff, So although it is maybe not the most interesting subject to everybody, it is true, you need to get into it, especially color space. I know no one or most people don't like to hear about it, but if you want to supervise, you do need to handle the color space pipeline, or how everything is going to work, whether we're in ACES, whether we're linear and we're using color correction collection files. You need to learn about it. If you are within your discovery period that we were talking about before, of finding other things, if color space is something that you're very interested and familiar with, congratulations, you got one of the most difficult parts of the job done. But if you're not, give it a shot. You might be surprised by actually all the things that are involved in color space. It's quite an interesting field of color. Like the things that you learn about it, it's incredible. It is a steep learning curve. It is difficult, but you need to get familiar with it, and all the technical sides, like I/O and spec sheets, formats, all of that stuff. You also need to know about it. Color space is a very important one in that sense. So the next spot, or the next point, is finding your own tools. What I mean by that is, once you know how the whole train works, once you know the technical aspect of it and how it works, you need to find your own tools to work in this environment. Your job is mostly to be a translator. That's kind of how I see my job as a supervisor. You have to work with a showrunner who is very likely an expert in acting and writing and story and maybe a little bit about lighting, but they don't really know what Nuke is. They've never heard of Nuke. They've never heard of Blender. They don't really know how all of this world works. And just as color space might be intimidating to us, visual effects can be really intimidating to a showrunner. So you need to find your tools to communicate with them and to make them feel at ease, and make sure that all of the words that they say, that a showrunner says, for example, I want to make this tree look cool, like make it look cool, make it look, fancy and shiny and amazing. Sure, those are great words, but they're a little bit abstract, You need to find a way to translate it and talk to your vendors and say, okay, can we bring up the specularity in this? Can we add a glint node and make it have specks and little shiny details on it? Try to find a way to translate his words or their words to what the vendor wants. I use tools like simple tools like Photoshop to have an image. I like to work with images because they're very clear and have a before and after in Photoshop of what the idea is, so we have something to discuss. Or use RV or in ShotGrid, or use Nuke, make a little script template of what notes or what you're going for, Find ways to express yourself, express what's on your head, because people can't read your mind, and you need to be very clear and concise and simplify as much as you can your words. Take a few shots from a movie, give whatever notes you think you would give, and then write them down, share them with an artist, somebody from your workplace, a friend or somebody, and ask them what they interpret from it, and see if what you wrote and what you put is something that mimics exactly what's on their mind and what they're seeing, what they're interpreting. So in that sense, make sure to do a couple of exercises, because it's going to come in really handy. You're going to be giving notes almost constantly, and the closer to a deadline, the more notes you're going to give. So speed and being clear and concise is going to help you a lot. It's going to get you a long way. And on that sense, the last thing is people. Like, your job is, unlike I was saying about, an artist with their headphones being alone in their computer, this is completely different. You need to get out and start talking to people. Your job is just going to be to communicate, and you need to find the best way that you can to express yourself. Even if you're speaking in a language that's not your first one, you need to practice it. You need to get familiar with it, with the jargon and how you want to express your opinions, and find out a little bit what kind of supervisor you are. Find out what your weaknesses are, and find out what strengths you have, and build an in-house team with people that are going to complement your skill set. If you are a compositor who is maybe not an expert in lighting and rendering, for example, have an in-house artist that can cover that. Have an in-house artist that's an expert in lighting, Same for your comp soup. Pick a comp soup that you've worked with and that you're comfortable with, that perfectly complements you and knows what's on your head too. That will come a long way. And most of all, out of all the people in an entire production, frankly, the most important person for you as a supervisor is going to be a producer, your visual effects producer. I feel like if a supervisor is, in a way to put it, is a sword, your producer is the shield. Your producer is going to be there to solve problems before you even see them coming. There's a wider range of skill set that person has learned. It's just like you spend X amount of years learning your own skills, that producer is going to know very likely a complete opposite array of skills that's going to help you tackle through hundreds or thousands of shots, because it is a mountain of shots that you're going to have to push through, and a mountain of problems and challenges that will come, from the editorial, the post, the sound, the showrunner, the vendors. There's always something that needs to be solved, and one person cannot do it all. And the producer is going to be there to help you and advise you, and you're going to be there to help them and advise them too. It is definitely a team job. And the best thing that you can do is to work with them, to have an honest relationship. Just talk to them about what things you're good at, what things you're not, so that the person is very clear about it. And also, what things they're good at and what things you can help out with, and try to have the best relationship possible, because your relationship with the producer is going to set the tone for the office. If you have a very good relationship and you get along and you work together well, that's just gonna pour into how the team feels and how comfortable the team is. If you establish that relationship that's honest, and you are okay saying what you know and what you don't know, so will your team. If your team will be able to raise the hand and say like, hey, I don't really know how to do this that you asked me to do. I don't know how this works. I don't know how that works. That is completely fine. Our industry is so vast and there's so many things to learn that it's impossible for one person to know it all. So be comfortable with not knowing things, try to get your team to understand that, and you will all be better for that, Make sure that that team feels comfortable and it's good, but also that you all get along together, because at the end of the day, you're a group of 10 people, give or take, that are just going to spend a whole year and a half together, day in and day out, like nonstop. And so it's important that you all feel comfortable and appreciate it, and are happy about it, because at the end of the day, you're all doing something that you love. You got a great opportunity to produce a show, the visual effects for a show, and do something that you never thought you could do, and live doing what you love. So in that sense, share that love with your whole team. What everybody brings to the production is extremely valuable. From the visual effects editor who manages hundreds and hundreds of shots, to the PM who runs the team every day and makes sure nothing falls through the cracks, to the coordinators that is just going to make sure the communication with the vendors is seamless, to the producer who is just going to make sure that you don't run out of money, that you have the budget and you're clear to focus on the creative, to your in-house artists who are going to help you with your 911s, because that's what the in-house artists do. They are the 911 team. Whenever something falls through the cracks or we forgot about a shot, they're the ones who are going to fix it, and your comp soup who's going to be your right hand helping you out through the process, because it's a lot to take on. So nurture the team, make sure everybody feels good and is happy and enjoy it, and have fun through the process. It's a wild ride, but it's incredible and amazing, and you'll have lots of stories to share after it. So I think that's all for me. Best of luck to you. I think there's a lot to learn. It feels like a mountain of work, and it is a mountain of work, but you just need to take one step at a time. Be confident about your work, be confident about your skill set, and be thankful for all the people around you that are helping you out climb up that mountain. And I look forward to one day seeing one of your shows on TV and film or whatever it is. And that's the best feeling in the world. So I hope I can contribute a little bit to that development. And on that note, happy World Visual Effects Day. That's it for me. So have a great day, and hopefully we get to work together in the future. Who knows? Cheers.